Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. And I'm your host, Dorothy Odell, for this evening. I have the distinct pleasure of bringing on to the screen Christian Isquierdo, known as the LeftFoot Coach. Welcome. And I hope I didn't massacre your last name.
Yeah, a little bit, just a tad.
Sorry.
All right.
I was going to ask before we got on it, and I forgot because we got busy talking. So everybody meet Christian. Christian is like my new best friend. He's all the way in Arizona, and I'm here in Canada, but that doesn't matter. This guy is truly amazing, and just wait till you hear his story. So, Christian, if you could share a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into what it is that you do, being the LeftFoot Coach.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll just say, like, my story is I'm fifth generation Mexican American, and even I say like Isquierdo, but like if I was talking to my grandma, it would be Isquierdo, right? And so I also tolerate Isquierdo. Are you Isquierdo? Things like that. And I got tons of different voices and accents that has been growing up all over the place that just allow me to have fun. So I was born in Michigan, fifth generation, but I have my mom's side of the family is Spanish. So even like the mention of being Mexican is just like so beneath them, right? But I got the Native American, got the German, so I'm totally organized and like rigid. And at the same time, we have the mestizo immigrants, like happy to just have work and be diligent and have an amazing family. So I have this wonderful lineage that I've grown up with, and grew up north of Chicago in Evanston. And that experience just totally transformed my life too, being like 40% black, 40% white, and the 20% of like the Filipinos, Asians, Jews, and myself, and like maybe 5 Mexicans. Like that experience growing up in high school, I thought the world was diverse. I thought the world like accepted black, white. I thought the world like had the valedictorian and the star running back at the same lunch table. Like I thought we all got along. I knew the rest of the world didn't, like, it had issues. But
The
I
world
grew
has
up
issues.
experience, right? Yeah, a couple. And but I grew up with black, white, African American. I remember listening to Public Enemy, but also at the same time, like someone was blasting the Eagles, like it was at the same party. You don't find, Led Zeppelin and the Public Enemy on the same playlist all the time. But that's what I grew up with. And I went to the University of Michigan because someone told me I
Go
couldn't.
blue. Go
Yeah,
blue.
I had to prove him wrong. But after Michigan, and I have the distinct pleasure of being the only person kicked out of a Michigan football game twice. So
How did
once
you
crowd
manage that?
surfing. I know it's really, it's not too complicated, but I was able to do it. I think the first time it was either a marshmallow fight, like we used to throw marshmallows in the student section, and then the second one was crowd surfing, or maybe the crowd surfing was first and then the marshmallow fight was second. I can't remember really which one was first, but I had a buddy that always said you have the unique distinction of being kicked out twice. So it can be done. It can be done.
It can be done.
Yeah, there's yeah, don't tell me something can't be done, because I'll do it.
I love that.
After Michigan, I went to New Mexico. I read the Dharma Bums. I had this amazing spiritual experience. And I just questioned everything at that point. And I kind of led my life at that point of, if there's truth or there's love, somewhere in the middle, it's right. And love and freedom became kind of the core part of like a spiritual search that has lasted since I was 19. And not many of us can say we had this divine spiritual experience at 19 that led me to read the Dharma Bums, as well as like The Way of Peaceful Warrior, and go go to an Indian reservation, but at the same time learn the martial arts from a karate master in New Mexico. And I, that experience, truly transformed my life, because I knew there was something different. I knew it wasn't just about getting a college degree and getting a good job. It was like, how do I lead my heart? How do I lead with my heart? How do I love people? How do I forgive people? How do I like be a stand for truth and justice, and not the American way, but it was like, how can it be a cultural, like, how can we embrace all of our cultures? Because I'd grown up in that environment where, my friends were Hindu and Buddhist, and I loved them just the same. And so what was their culture? And so that really led me, and, created this awkward, I'm going to say an awkward foundation, because I just always asked, is there love or freedom? Like, if
I
this
like
is
that.
true, there's love, it's got to have love in it, right? Like, if it, and if it's heart, and I'm not going to always say like Corinthians 13 is always the way to have define love, but is it patient? Is it hold no wrongs? Is it like, is it embrace? Is there's no scorekeeping? Like, how many of us in our relationships do we keep score? um and that like aspect of love, but then like, is there freedom? Like, am I free to choose? Am I free to live? Am I free to like, um, go golfing every day? Like, I love golfing. I've fallen in love with golf, and having the freedom to golf every day is a
Right.
unique experience. So those two questions really guide my life, with everything I do. And as a background, I played soccer since I was 4. I went through all these different experiences. In graduate, I went to a Buddhist graduate school in Europa University, where I studied complex systems theories. I was that nerd in front of the class, answering all the questions, reading all the books. Really dove into like the contemplative side of education,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point we had a project to take complex systems theories into a childhood love, and I took it into soccer. And so I formed a soccer team at the Naropa University. At the time, we were called the Naropa Institute when I started. My degree says Naropa University. I'm still kind of a little jaded about that. But we created this like amazing experience. And by applying complex system theories to the game that I loved, it just opened up a process for me to integrate my martial arts, apply it to team building and leadership, and
Mm-hmm.
really transform my own life and my love of soccer. And so in 2008, I had been coaching for about 10 to 15 years on the side. Um, and I remember I told my wife, I'm going to go, I'm making good money per hour. I'm going to go do that as a life, as a choice. And I lived the soccer, I call them hired guns, or merchant marines. And I lived that life for a long time until I kind of discovered, um, the LeftFoot Coaching Academy. And it really was kind of like divinely inspired. It came from, working with one player, and over, I don't know, I formed it in 2008. In 2010, I opened the facility. I went to the World Cup in 2010 from Coca-Cola and Best Buy. We won an award, and I was blogging nationally, so I was like telling the story of what we were creating. And I remember the moment. It was so beautiful. We were in South Africa. There were over 400 kids from around the world, and you always hear these stories of kids from Brazil or South Africa just creating a ball from nothing, and that's what they
Mm-hmm.
did. They created out of like plastic bags that they had found in, like, we were in this, like, I don't know, like banquet hall, but they were bored and no one had a ball, so they made one. And then they're standing there with all these kids from around the world, and some of the lefties that came from from us. They were all juggling, and I remember just standing with someone, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we can create a place where kids could just go to play soccer? Like, everything else is about winning. It's like tournaments, it's games, it's practices, it's tryouts, but nowhere was there a place where kids could just go and play. And that became the foundation of LeftFoot Coaching Academy. And over what 10 I opened the doors in 2010, and crowdfunded toward $40,000 to start the academy, before crowdfunding was even a thing. And laid the turf myself, put the had clients in there, and there's still some kids to this day that remember playing on the cement. But I created a philosophy, I created a methodology, I created all these different things in business. And sold the company in 2019. I owned the real estate. I created all these different plans and marketing plans and spreadsheets, and took 2 years off, and got in a car accident, had a massive concussion. And I said, I'm not going to be on the same roller coaster everyone else is in life. I want to, and as I tell the story, I was, alone, hospitalized. I'd just gotten out of the hospital. My wife had left me. I was craving some orange juice, and I had kind of dead legs. Like my legs wouldn't work. They couldn't have the strength. Like, so if I stood up, I'd fall, either through dizziness or whatever. And so I had to kind of like crawl to the refrigerator down the stairs. And I don't know what moment it was, but I just dreamt of walking on the beach. I saw my legs working, my feet touching the ground, and I just said, I just want to walk on the beach. And if my life could be a walk on the beach, for the next 25 years, what's that going to look like? What's that going to be like? And a month later, I did walk on the beach in Sayulita, Mexico. And I just said, if something comes into my existence that doesn't align to walking on the beach, I don't want it.
I love that.
It doesn't align. Or what could happen that I can still have a walk on the beach. Maybe you join me. Maybe we walk on the beach together. Or, would I even want this call? Would I answer your call if I was walking on the beach? And if I wouldn't, well, that tells us something. And if I would, that tells us something too. So that's kind of that journey to like being a walk on the beach, and really having a life that empowers myself and my family and everyone else around me to have a life of ease and comfort. And comfort's a whole kind of word. So,
all right, I love what you said. Have a life of ease and empowerment. Because how many of us walk around doing what we have to do, not doing what we want to do? And that was powerful what you said, make your life a walk on the beach. And by the power of your mind, and obviously not just the mind, but I mean, you were able to walk a month afterwards, after declaring that, right? And I think there's a lot in declaring that and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to stand for, and then doing it. So that is awesome that you were able to do that. Absolutely love all of that. Your determination and your strength is what is getting you through. I mean, this is like the second or third time I've heard your story in the last couple weeks that we've known each other. So, and each time I hear it, I hear something different. It's like empowering and inspiring. And for people that are watching that think, okay, maybe you're in a dead end job, or maybe you're in a dead end business and you don't know how to get out of it. This man basically went from, a horrific accident that took away everything to where you're at today. So kudos to you for not giving up. And I just want to say thank you.
And it's not all like, I still have bills to pay, right? Like I still have bills to pay. I still have to create work. I still have to take out the trash. And how I align that choice of hey, this isn't a walk on the beach. This doesn't work with or not that everything's always out there, or other people's problems, but relationships that are like stressful and anxious and controlling, and it's like, hey, that's not a walk on the beach. Like, it allows me to kind of just like declare boundaries and embrace I'm choosing in my life, and still there's a lot of surrender to that too, because you never know what's going to wash up on the beach.
Yes, you never know. Especially in this crazy world, you never know. Wow. And I never thought of that until you just said, it that. So yeah, you never know. So now that you've had to pivot and you're coming back, after your 2 years, bigger, better, stronger than ever. So what is the LeftFoot coaching now going to consist of? Are you still going to do soccer, or now are you transitioning to business men and women? What does that look like now for you?
I remember this moment when I was like, it was almost right after I decided to sell everything, and I said, I just want to be the best employee for any company that I work for, like, I'm going to be the best employee. They can totally count on me. And I did take like on 2 jobs during this time. Like, I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to start working. I was bored out of my mind. That first year of retirement was really hard. But I think that's been really valuable, because I mean, not many of us in our 40s can say like, what's retirement like? And I want to point this out, because so many of us struggle with this, but so many of us don't have to answer these questions. But like, what happened for me was I didn't have a job. I didn't want a job. I wasn't looking for a job. I wasn't creating a job. And when people ask me, what do you do? My truthful answer was nothing, because I didn't do anything. Like, I picked up the kids from school, or I remember enjoying watering the flowers, because it was like an activity. And so like, I think retirement is such an interesting concept for most of us, that we don't really know what it's like, or what it's going to be. We have these fantasies, but then like, as someone who's 65 and they've been working for 40 years of their life, and then they retire, that first year is difficult. Because like, how do you find your meaning? How do you find your purpose? And then like, I knew I didn't want to go back to a 40-hour-a-week job. Back to a 40-hour-a-week job would have been great. But I knew I didn't want to do 60 hours. I didn't want to do 80 hours. I didn't want to be the man again. And so discovering what that looks like has taken a year or two to, I'd start with companies, they'd want to hire me for a position. And then I remember one guy, he said, you're such a business owner. I don't know if I can have 2 of us with us, because I was delegating. I was like creating strategic plans. I was asking how this worked with the balance sheet. I was asking so many questions that even the business owner didn't know. And he's like, I don't know if I can have you as an employee. And
Overqualified.
Yeah, and for me, I thought it was like, well, it's an asset to have someone who's run their own company. And so I think what the LeftFoot Coach is this kind of definition of is, I discovered these secrets to running a company that I didn't know I discovered. Like, I didn't know they were the secrets, but as I've been working with other business owners and other companies, I've been like, well, you're not doing this. What do you mean? Like, wait, you haven't found this pattern in your business? Like, it's there. And that's created a conversation for me that's like, okay, how do I support business owners as like the place that I wanted to support? I wanted a partner. Not that I wanted a partner to like split the profits. I wanted a partner to have my back. Like, oh my God, I'm coaching. Can you handle the finances? And how did we get audited right now? I'm in this massive marketing campaign and we have an audit going on right now. What's what happened there and who can I trust? It's got my back and knows the story of the company and knows what's going on and can address that. So the LeftFoot Coach is kind of that like positioning, positioning a partner. I know part of walking on the beach is, yeah, maybe it is a call with one of my top employees or one of the people that are running the company and they need some advice or they need someone to vent to, because I know there were plenty of times where I thought I was going bankrupt or I thought I was like not going to make payroll, or there are all these horrible things that every business owner goes through at some point in their life, in their journey, that you can't tell your wife or your spouse because they don't know everything and they don't want to hear that. You can't tell your employees, you know, hey, we got an audit because we did something wrong in the bills, and you might not got bonuses this week. You can't really say that. So who do you say that to? And that's the position I want to put LeftFoot Coach in. That, like, you know, and I was talking to one of my clients. She goes, "Oh my God, I feel so horrible. I'm like scared. I see the money in the checking account and I panic." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got that. I know that. You know, the whole feeling." She's like, "You mean that's normal?" I'm like, "Yeah, we all go through that." And that's the place not to look to see the health of your business. You don't look at your checking account to see the health of your business. She goes, "What do you mean?" And that became this whole conversation. And it's just like how to support small business owners that are going through that stage, and may not have those resources or the experience or the family members, because, you know, your uncles and aunts are always great to give you advice. But they're not always the ones who maybe ran a company, maybe had the valuation, you know, it was a $2.5 million valuation. And okay, you know, I remember just searching, who could I ask? How do I get it higher? Why is it only 2.5? And that's where I want to put the LeftFoot Coach in that position, to be there for business owners.
Be a strategic partner. And that's, you know, as a business owner, you wear so many hats, right? And sometimes it's like, you know, so I have to wear the producer hat, the bookkeeping hat, the, you know, getting the client sales, you know, I wear all those hats, and sometimes it can be tiring and you're like, well, you know, how do I go to the next step, right? What's the next level? Eventually, like, Kimberly and I have made out this plan. We want to fire ourselves from sales. Not completely, but we want to have a sales force. So we want to fire ourselves and be, you know, and have that sales force around us. So that's how good we want to be, because we know that we are sometimes, as an owner, you're like a hindrance. You're your own hindrance to your own company, and you don't even realize it. That even though you're trying to do, you know, everything right, which is impossible. But
well, can I debunk two of those myths right there for you?
Yeah, sure.
Number one, and I think this is where most business owners make a big problem, until you are a massive company and other people deliver your services, you are your best salesperson. Like, you are the best person to ever sell your products and services. If you are a solopreneur, or you are the one delivering the services, and that's where I say, like, you don't really have a company, you have a job. And but until you like really step out of delivering the services, you are the best salesperson. So never replace yourself on that. Maybe you might need someone to manage the clients.
There we go.
And I'll give a lot of advice for free today. But if you're at like 40 clients, that's when to hire an administrator. Like, just having someone, and Kim was my first. Now I always honor Kim, and Kim was my first employee at about 25 to 40 customers. And what we said is, if she gets them on the field and make sure that they're paying for what's on the field, then I'll provide all of the services on the field.
Yeah.
But she's got to make sure when I'm on the field, I'm not bothered by who wants to get on the field or where I'm supposed to be managed Christian's got a coaching appointment at 5, but he's dropping off his kids at 4:30. So you guys are going to be late, and that assistant, because I got to deliver to 12 kids. Well, can she get those 12 kids on the field? Yes, she can. But guess what? We learned, and this is where I talk about mapping. One of my core questions when I started my company was, what does it take to get a kid on the field? Like, what has to happen in order for them to get onto the field? Well, mom and dad have to call or sign a web page or fill out a form or do something. Maybe they got to make a payment. But like at a certain point, they would like sign up a trial, and then they would go onto the field, and then Kim would call them and follow up. And then, guess what? The ones that Kim called after they went to the field, they didn't sign up. Well, why not? Was it Kim? Because most of us would go like, well, Kim's horrible. Maybe we got to train Kim better. Or like, maybe I need to get a salesperson. No, what we found was that the questions that the parents were asking about the soccer expertise and what their kids wanted needed to come from the coach. So what we did is we intervened and said, okay, we're going to have this coaching evaluation into the process so that when the kid comes onto the field during their trial, now they're going to talk to a coach, and then they're going to talk to a membership director to do the sale, because not all coaches sell. And so when we put that coaching conversation in there, we had an 83% conversion on all of our trials.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Right? Like, that's amazing.
That is
right?
amazing. That is amazing.
If you said out of 100 people that are going to call me and experience my product, 83% will buy.
That's damn good.
Something right. We were doing something. Yeah, we were doing something right. We could almost guarantee when someone bought a trial, 30 days later, we'd have the, initial membership deposit. And so like they bought on January 1st, February 2nd, I could expect $300.
There you go. So why would you want to partner? Why wouldn't you want to partner with Christian then in his business? Because they could get you the 80. We're not guaranteeing 83% results, but we are guaranteeing better results.
Yeah, and that's where what I've created now is LeftFoot Coach. I had a couple clients so far, and then I kind of discovered, I'm like, wow, I haven't trained them this way. Like I haven't walked them through. I call it now the 5 elements of transforming service, right? Like if you manage these 5 things in your business, you're going to double your growth in 6 months. I pretty much guarantee that, because 1, you probably weren't measuring it in the first place. So we can, we're going to multiply 0, or we're going to multiply 1 and 2 and things like that. Right. And then as you start getting better at it, you start saying, wow, with Kim, maybe we're at like a 20%, conversion rate. But then when it was Kim and I, we went to an 83% conversion rate. And then, later on in the business, guess what? The coach that you were on the field with during your first session wasn't the coach you talked to, nor was it the membership person anywhere in there. We were a team of 3. Well, we had to determine, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's a membership meeting with the coaches and the membership director to manage all the kids who are coming in and all the kids who are having calls. And I would sit in on that meeting and just listen. So those are the places that, like, the 5 elements of transforming services. I've watched a lot of businesses. They're not even doing anything. They have no idea that this is actually happening in their business.
Right. Wow. Well, all I can say is definitely contact Christian and get that. So it's like a partnership and converting, your sales over. Because I know you will find, and tweak what needs to happen with each business. So have every bit of confidence in what you're doing here. So that's awesome. And so where is the best place that you would like people to contact you?
Right now it's you can give me a call. I don't answer the phone all the time because I'm walking on the beach or golfing. But I think LinkedIn. I think I will start utilizing LinkedIn. I do have like a little like presentation of what we're up to here. And when I say we, it is business partners and coaches that I've grown to like adore and love that deliver things that I know I can't do. Like automate your financial systems, or like, import all of your expenses and, manage that. What I do is I look for the patterns in those expenses. So I work with a team of different people that I'll outsource, to really get the leverage. So that little presentation, I think it's linked onto my LinkedIn now. And it has just a schedule an inquiry call, and a little enroll now button.
Perfect. Awesome. And I also had your website in the show notes as well as your LinkedIn profile. Is your website good for them to go to as well?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's a website because it's not like a www.LeftFoot Coach. It's like it's again a little presentation. It's built in Adobe, and just kind of walks you through what we're up to and what we're creating here. So.
Awesome. Well, go check Christian's site out there. It's definitely somebody you want on your team, so he could find out your patterns and help coach you around that. So absolutely loved having you on here. Thank you to all of our guests that showed up in watching and in the replay, because I know sometimes it's dinner hour for some people, so they'll watch it later. So thank you so much, Christian, for coming on and sharing your walk on the beach with us. I absolutely love that. And we'll have to have a golf game someday.
I think my fantasy is when we can go to a simulator and we can play in different like everyone plays a different simulator and we're all golfing together on but you're in your house, I'm in my house, and my kids are in Minnesota, and we can all golf together. Wouldn't that be fun?
There we go. That would be fun. All right. Well, thank you so much. And same time, same channel next week, folks. Bye for now, and be unstoppable in all that you do.